Hello there and welcome once again back to Carlton Black Ops King and my weekly blog, which comes out as and when, but you will get one a week. Now listen, it is a momentous day, okay? Basically what has happened is that Theresa May has put forward her agreement, which she's managed to reach with the EU concerning Brexit. Now, listen, let's get serious. This is an absolute and total nonsense. If you are a Brexiteer, a leaver, or you are a Remainer, this does not function. Okay? Now, from the beginning, from 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, as soon as I heard about this so-called Brexit vote that there was going to be, this referendum, I explained to individuals on my feeds, be that Twitter, be that Facebook, and I explained this would be a disaster for the United Kingdom. Right? Geopolitically, listen, I'm an ex-spook, so my whole thing is looking at the world geopolitically, looking at how we interact with other countries, what we need to do in terms of spying, in terms of our security of our state, and how we function, and our power within the world. So, you know, half of my role was to keep the economic well-being of the United Kingdom, to keep us powerful in this world. And what Brexit was going to do, and I explained it from day one, was to undermine that totally. People did not understand. And you can't, it's like saying to the average member of the public, go to Lewis Hamilton and start telling him how a Formula One car works. Start telling him what the correct power ratios are. And that. People don't understand. Let me explain to you. The problem has been always that people have looked at the small little bits they understand, so keeping the Formula One analogy going, the car looks great when it's cleaned up. They don't know what's under the hood. So they were saying we don't want immigrants, right? First and foremost, half of them didn't understand that when you say freedom of movement, that was never freedom of movement from people from all over the world. It was only freedom of movements from the other 27 EU states. And we had the same freedom of movements into their countries. This is not from the rest of the world. So a lot of people I know around this area, and they spun it in a different way, but basically there were too many brown and black faces and they didn't want them knocking around. That's the reality for many, many people. Let's be truthful. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what it's about. Stop and leaving the European Union is not going to stop that. Now, on the other side, I heard a lot of people of Asian heritage, many, many fewer of African heritage were saying, oh, well, this will give us an opportunity for more Asians and for more Africans to come. You're crazy. People did not want you here. They don't want you here. So why do you think they're going to say no to Europeans and yes to Africans and Asians? So let's get it right. So that was the number one reason for people voting to leave. Now, you can spin it any other way you want, but let's be truthful now. The time has gone for us to be silly. Right? We need to hit the ball correctly and to kick it into the goal correctly. So that's the first thing. So basically, the European Union freedom of movement meant anybody who lives in any of the 27 states had a right to come to Britain, and we had a right to go to any of the 27 states. So it's 28 altogether. Okay, understand that. Now, let's add to this another factor that is just as important. Okay? So the movement of other people into the UK was totally and utterly controlled by the UK. So if Britain wanted to say not one American, not one African, not one Asian, not one Chinese person can come to Britain, Britain could say that. The EU had nothing to say about that. But the point was, and this is what people never understood, more people from outside the European Union were coming to Britain than people from within the European Union. And also, if you take the fact that the Britain's going to live in the European Union, going to stay in the European Union, going to work in the European Union, which might now be affected, okay, those movements were massive. So, hence, that was the first reason why a lot of people say we don't want the European Union. Okay, the second one was, What, frankly, politicians in every European Union country does is they basically get through things they want in their parliament because they agree it in the European Union and it's majority voting, so they agree it. Yeah, things they want to get through that they know their people need in order for Europeans to remain great. Okay, in order for the Europe to actually be able to challenge Asia, for Europe to be able to challenge the United States, for Europe to stay at the top table, right? They know they needed to put certain things through. And some of those things were less than palatable in some politicians' minds that the public would think it. They then blamed it on the European Union. They do it in every country, not just in Britain. They blame it in France, they do it in Germany, they do it in Spain, they do it in all countries. The difference is, in France, Germany, Spain, etc., they also tell them what the European Union actually does positive for you. We've never done that in the UK. We've never explained, and believe me, I've lived in those countries, so I know what they do. We've never explained to the British people what the European Union does for them. There's only just beginning to explain it. People are beginning to understand that your cheap flights, your cheap telephone calls, your cheap booze, your cheap holidays, you can go on and on and on. It's because of the European Union. The hours you work is because of the European Union. The rights you have at work because of the European Union. The holidays you have because of the European Union. Right? Because of the agreement. Because the standards that we are connected to. Okay? And in my game, right? So, the working together with different agencies assisted because of the European Union. The movement of terrorists from one country to the other in terms of us extraditing them very, very easily. When I first joined them, I was first in this game, trying to move a terrorist and spy or whatever it was from one country to the other was extremely difficult. Never mind just normal crime. Okay, taking out normal crime, a normal murderer, to move from one country to another, the amount of time you had to work on to make that happen was unbelievable. Now, bang, it's done in seconds. It's done dead easy. European arrest warrant, dead easily done. So what I'm saying to you is, there's so much we have obtained from being in the European Union. So what do I have with Mrs May's system? What's the problem with it? The problem is, Mrs May knows this. She knows we have to stay in the Union, but she's trying to say, oh, I want to listen to the British people and give them what they want. Well, you can't square that circle. It's impossible. So basically what's happening is, she's turning around and saying, okay, we'll stay in the European Union, effectively have everything to do with it, everything that we had before, but we'll pay the monies we were paying before, which, by the way, is a pittance for what we get back from it. But because she wants to pull us out, we have no say. So from being, basically, the joint second, I would say, most powerful country in the European Union, Germany being the first, maybe geopolitically, joint first with Germany, definitely not economically, but geopolitically, because our whole policy has been designed through the European Union that we can work with the American and influence Europe from what the American wants to happen. And that gave us power with the Americans. And to a lesser extent, we could argue that some of the Commonwealth countries come to us for assistance. They don't really, but we could argue that. So that also gave us a little bit of an in with Commonwealth countries, the ones that matter, of course, in order to have that sort of what I call the bridging process. That has been Britain's diplomatic perspective for more than 40 years now, to act as a bridge between the United States and Europe, and to some extent, some of the Commonwealth countries and Europe. And therefore, that was our powerhouse. That was our perspective. Now, that's gone. Even though we're not out of the Union yet, it's already gone, because people are looking at other options. You can see the Americans are going to the French now for that bridge perspective, right? You can see that some of the Commonwealth countries, take India, take back powerful countries like India, extremely powerful, within 10, 20 years more powerful than us by far. They're going to other countries, to Germany, whatever, to get that bridging perspective. So Britain's missing out, right? So our whole geopolitics has gone, and hence our position in the world. We are diminished in the world. We need to understand that. And I haven't even touched on economy. I haven't even touched on Northern Ireland. which before the referendum I said was going to be a massive problem. Why? Because right now as it sits, Republicans do not feel as though the United Kingdom of which they are part, the British within the United Kingdom, and for that read English in reality, are not oppressing them because we're part of a bigger body, which is the European Union, and as they would perceive it, colleagues across the border in the Republic of Ireland are part of that union as well, and therefore, actually, why do we need to fight to stay in what we would anyway, which is a union of Europe? It's pointless. We're not being oppressed by Britain, England anymore, because we are part of this European Union family. Once that family goes, that argument has gone. And once again, for the nationalists, I'm not now talking about the loyalist Northern Irish, for the nationalists, they will perceive themselves as being under what they would say the British yoke. Read for that, the English yoke. Read for that, English control over the Irish people. Okay? So this is the problem we have with leaving the European Union. Think about it, guys. Think, consider, come back to me. Okay, that's it for today.